Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Keller Wortham. Thanks for tuning in again. This is the second video that I'm doing on a 4-part series on obesity and obesity-related disorders. So if you didn't check out the first one, you might want to go check it out. And if not, stay right here. We're going to be talking about a collective syndrome of issues that are related to weight and weight gain called metabolic syndrome. Yeah, it's basically meaning that our modern life and lifestyle has messed up our bodies and our metabolism so much that we now have a name for a syndrome that resorted from it. So what is it exactly? Well, it basically is where you or we as a population have had such a sedentary lifestyle and have had so much calories coming in that we didn't need that we started to alter the way our body metabolizes things. So the reason we're talking about it today is because this metabolic syndrome that's happening all over the world, it has a lot of health issues related to it. It's a spectrum that can increase your risk for heart disease. It can increase your cholesterol. It can increase your blood pressure. It can lead to diabetes. And these are all things that you definitely don't want. So if you find that you're getting into this territory of metabolic syndrome, you want to reverse course as soon as possible. So how do you know if you have it? Well, luckily, there's a very strict criteria that we use to kind of suss out if we're worried about someone having metabolic syndrome. So I'm going to go over the list with you right now, and maybe you can check it off with you at home. Number one, and again, if you have 3 of the following 5, you could be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. Number 1, having a blood pressure over 130/85, so basically high blood pressure. Number 2, having a fasting blood sugar over 100. Number 3, having triglycerides, fasting triglycerides, which is a part of your cholesterol, over 150. Number 4, having a good cholesterol that is lower than 40. And number 5, if you're a woman having a waist that's more than 35 inches, or if you're a man having a waist that's over 40 inches. So basically, kind of those are the criteria we use. A little bit of blood pressure, a little bit of triglycerides going up, good cholesterol going down, blood sugar going up, and the circumference of our waist, basically our pant size. So if you are dealing with some of those issues, you might want to talk to your doctor about metabolic syndrome and see if it's something that you need to worry about. Well, how did we get to this spot where in our society we're messing up our metabolisms so much? The answer really comes down to something called processed sugar. This is one of the main issues. Processed sugar, I've got a nice little canister of it here, is something that adds a lot of calories to our diet and starts to basically get us into this bad territory that leads to metabolic syndrome. A second factor is sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary lifestyle, you know, we're sitting at our computers all day, we're sitting in our cars all day. Those 2 factors have led to this big shift in how our bodies process calories. So sugar, you know, as you know, is a great thing. It not only tastes very good, but our bodies depend on it. Sugar helps, it's basically the fuel for our body. It helps run our actions, our metabolic processes, even our thoughts run on sugar. But too much of it can basically be toxic to us. And I'm going to talk about a particular little hormone called insulin. And maybe you've heard about insulin before. Insulin is often implicated in diabetes. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about insulin and its other functions, and we'll save diabetes for the next topic that we're going to do. But just know that insulin is important because insulin is what helps us get sugar where it needs to go. Insulin helps get sugar into our muscles to be used as fuel. It helps store fat in our livers and in basically our fat deposits, so we can use that energy another day. And it keeps our whole metabolic system going. So it's a great thing. And when it's working well, awesome. You know, we really can't live without it. In fact, back in the day, people who had low insulin, like type 1 diabetes, if they weren't able to make insulin anymore, they would die very quickly. So definitely, we can't live without it. However, there's something that happens in metabolic syndrome, where our insulin starts to kind of like act inappropriately. And it's a little bit of a mystery as to why this starts to happen. But the thought is that initially, we have way too much sugar, or we have way too much other processed foods like, my Oreos here, and we start to gain weight. And when we start to gain weight, our insulin levels start to go up. And also, the insulin that we're making just starts to kind of not be as recognized by our body. So we start making more of it. So when we have really high levels of insulin, it has a lot of problems for us. High insulin causes inflammation in the body. So that can be everything from inflammation in your joints to inflammation in your arteries and your cardiovascular system, inflammation in the skin. Some people who have eczema will notice that their skin issues get worse when their insulin goes up. Insulin causes you to gain weight, so it starts leading to more fat storage. Insulin makes you tired, and it makes you hungry, and all these things that basically, make you feel pretty terrible. So why does insulin go up as we're talking about this issue? Well, the thought is that there are two main issues. Number one is just the quantity of sugar that we're having in our diet. There's sugar in everything. There's sugar in obviously the sweets that we're eating, but there's sugar in salad dressings. There's sugar in our breads. Just your regular whole bread from the grocery store has sugar in it. Sometimes they even put sugar in your salt. So it's just ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And the other issue is not only are we getting too much insulin from having too much sugar, but this other phenomenon that I mentioned where our body just stops recognizing the insulin that we're making. And so our pancreas, and I'll get into the pancreas in the next video, but the pancreas is this little organ kind of straight through my stomach towards my back. And it makes insulin. And if it notices that the insulin that I'm making, Mr. Pancreas, it's not really kind of having the effect I want, I'm going to start making more. So then we have these really high levels of insulin, and it starts having all these negative effects on our body. So again, if you go to your physician and you are diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, you want to start to turn the tide as soon as you can so you don't end up with those diseases that I talked about before, the high blood pressure, the strokes, the high cholesterol, and some of the other things that it can lead to, like even certain cancers. So you really want to get things under control. So today we're going to focus on some strategies you can have to start moving out of metabolic syndrome and getting your metabolism to work how it was supposed to before. Okay, so the first thing is pretty obvious. It's just reducing sugar. So I know sugar's great. And we're going to do a whole topic on sugar itself. But if you start reading labels, you'll notice where sugar is and how much of it is in the sports drinks that you have, in even the protein bars, in some of your breads, like I mentioned. And you want to start looking for the grams on your basically your food source here. So we've got basically here's some Oreos. I'm looking in the nutritional information. I've got under carbohydrates, so sugar is a carbohydrate, I've got a total of 25 grams. Okay, and if I look at the sugars, 14 grams of sugar. And the serving size here is, how many cookies do you think is in a serving size to get 14 grams of sugar? Anybody got a guess? 3. 3 Oreo cookies is a serving size. Now, I don't know about you. I used to love these things as a kid. It's really hard to eat just 3 Oreo cookies. So chances are, if you're eating Oreos, you're probably eating more than 3, and you're getting 14 grams times how many servings of those that you eat. Start to get aware of the amount of sugar in not only your foods, but also your beverages. I'm going to go back to fancy Mr. Coke here. A Coke, anybody know how many grams of sugar in a Coke? Any guesses? If 3 Oreo cookies have 14 grams, a can of Coke has a total of 39 sugars. So it's an absurd amount of sugar. I know you guys have probably seen the thing where they've got like a can and all the little sugar cubes next to it. I'm not going to do that right here, but it's like a mountain of sugar in this thing. So you want to start reducing the amount of sugar that you put in your body. There's a second thing that I want you guys to do, and that's avoiding something called high fructose corn syrup. Anybody heard of that? high fructose corn syrup is everywhere. And unfortunately, in our government, and not to get too political, but there's a lot of funding of corn production, and a lot of that goes to high fructose corn syrup, and it just makes it a very, very cheap sugar to use. So there's certainly high fructose corn syrup in the Oreos, there's certainly high fructose corn syrup in the Coke, and high fructose corn syrup is not just like your regular old sugar. It actually is a lot more insidious and dangerous for you, because high fructose corn syrup doesn't cause the same metabolic feedback loops in your body as regular glucose sugar does. Like, what are you talking about? So what I'm basically saying is, when you eat regular sugar, you know, your body sends some signals that say, oh, you know, I got sugar, my handwriting is terrible, but I got sugar, my sugar went up, and I'm gonna like send these signals out that are gonna say like, I need a lot less, okay? When I have something called high fructose corn syrup and it gets into my bloodstream, the signals that tell me that, you know, I need to reduce it don't happen. It basically acts on your metabolism a totally different way, so that you don't get the I'm full or I'm about to like have a crazy sugar catastrophe like you do with regular sugar. That's why you can have, you know, a gallon of Coke. Try drinking a gallon of milk. It's virtually impossible. So avoiding high fructose corn syrup. That's the second thing I want you guys to be aware of. Number 3, to get rid and turn the tide of this kind of metabolic syndrome, is exercise. Exercise is so important. I know you guys know that, but I'm going to talk about it more related to insulin levels. See, when you exercise and you engage your muscles, you actually are triggering the receptors there on your muscles to recognize insulin better. So you basically get to kind of prime your muscles to realize that insulin's around, and then your pancreas, which you talked about, says, oh, okay, cool, I don't need to make so much. So not only are you burning calories, but you're also increasing the efficiency of your insulin. And remember, for metabolic syndrome, when we get our insulin down, we avoid all the other problems that come along with it. Another thing you can do to help with metabolic syndrome, there may be some medications. I'm going to let your doctor talk to you about that, but there are certain medications that can help improve insulin efficiency, help alter your metabolism. And if you do have any other underlying medical conditions that could be at play, your doctor can help you with those. That could be thyroid disorder, that could be something like Cushing's. There are a whole bunch of metabolic issues. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. I'm not going to go into them in detail now, but if you're out there and you have one of those, you hopefully know about it, and talking with your physician about those particular health issues will help address the metabolic syndrome. And then lastly, and just most important, is eating a well-balanced and healthy meal. And there are a couple staples to this. Number 1, have breakfast. A lot of people think like skipping breakfast is a good way to lose weight. No, it's terrible for you. It doesn't get your metabolism primed. It doesn't set you up for the rest of the day. My favorite breakfast is eggs. Love it. I mean, eggs are a perfect little nutrient bomb. I mean, they've got good protein, they've got cholesterol that is good, healthy fat for you to kind of like keep you going throughout the day. A lot of people think the cholesterol in eggs is not that good for you. I'm telling you, when it comes to metabolic syndrome, you would much rather be having fats, like healthy fats and fats, than the sugars that you get in a lot of your other breakfasts, like cereal or toast with jelly or things like that. Okay, so good breakfast. Number 2, snack throughout the day. So you don't want to just have breakfast and then wait like 6 hours till you're having lunch and you're starving and you're ready to like, you know, eat a huge cheeseburger because you went too long. You want to have snacks, and you want to choose healthy snacks. And luckily I've got some great examples here. I've got nuts, dried nuts. This got some cashews, some almonds in it. Great snack for you. They've got some healthy fats in them. They've got protein, so they're going to help keep you satiated for a while. You can do like something like a nut spread. This is a mixed nut butter. I love this stuff. You can put this on celery, which means you're getting some fiber with it. So like a nut spread on celery, great example of a healthy snack. Hey, if you want to go the egg route, you can hard-boil eggs and have some hard-boiled eggs later in the day. It's a great snack as well. Something like organic hummus on carrot sticks. I mean, if you want to do some pita chips, you know, I like pita chips too, but if you can get yourself having carrot sticks or celery sticks or other veggies like broccoli, you're getting a lot of fiber, a lot of those macronutrients that are in there. So, you know, just have some hummus with some veggies. So those are good examples of healthy snacks. And then another thing that's really important that a lot of people don't understand is meal balancing. So if you have a carbohydrate by itself, you know, you have, I don't know, fries, or you have a piece of bread, it has a profound effect on your insulin levels. It kind of sends them skyrocketing. But if you mix it, particularly with other macronutrients like protein, like healthy fats, and fiber is that kind of stuff that makes food chewy. So there's a lot of fiber in whole grains, but there's also a ton of fiber in vegetables. If you can mix those together, then the carbs that you have are going to have a much less profound effect on your insulin levels. They're going to keep things balanced. So, for example, you know, you want to get some fiber like my trusty spinach here. So that'd be adding some good fiber to my meal. You want to get healthy fats like an avocado, great healthy fats, or avocado oil or olive oil, or the nuts we mentioned. Those are all healthy fats. Protein, you know, the protein again can be in the nuts, or you can be getting it from chicken or tuna or protein like that. And then you can have your carbs. In this example, I've just got berries that I'm going to put on my salad I'm about to make. Berries are great. There's a lot of sugar in them, but relative to the processed sugars, it's nothing. And when you start pairing them with the fats and the fiber and the proteins, then you've got a well-balanced meal. You're going to keep your insulin levels regulated, and you're not going to go through that spike and crash, and you're going to have a much healthier effect on your metabolism. So I hope that helps. I hope you guys were able to kind of take in all that information. Remember to definitely check your parameters there. Talk to your doctor. If your blood pressure's up, if your cholesterol's up, if you know you've got a big waistline, then start talking. Hey, is this something that's affecting me? And then you know you've got to handle it before you get to the situations that are a lot more dangerous, like the heart disease and the diabetes and things like that. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next video, we're going to get more into diabetes. So I will see you there, and we'll get more detailed. Again, I'm Dr. Keller Wortham, and good seeing you.